And even with all that, Verstappen couldn't win him. Verstappen couldn't outrace him. They had to fucking give it to him. They just had to hand it to the fucking victory to him. You hamstring the guy and then like put him on the last lap to suffer. It was disgusting. It was a display
Yeah.
of cruelty towards Hamilton to take away the championship that like on like 57 laps he deserved that. 57 laps. Okay.
Did you hear the recording in progress?
Yes, it's recording, I think.
All right, it's recording.
Oh man. So, well, I don't
Finally,
know.
let it all out. Tell me what you want to tell me.
Well, I don't know. I guess I guess we've both been feeling pretty bad. Okay, so it's the last race of the season. Last race of the season. Both drivers are tied on points.
Yes.
Of course, if they crash, Verstappen wins on tiebreakers. So like Hamilton has to be a little bit careful, right?
Yeah. And he has to end the race in front of Verstappen.
And no matter what happens, Hamilton is to end in front of Verstappen if he wants to win, right?
Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, we saw what happened, but we can describe what happened. So
I don't know if you want to take it from like the beginning of the race or if you want to go straight up to like the awful clown show that I think that the race was.
We can
straight up.
We can take it from the end of the race because I think that's the relevant part, and it's like literally like the only part that I think is worth discussing. I mean, there's plenty of other things that
we're discussing, but maybe that's like part of like racing. But like at very end of the race, it wasn't racing. It was just it wasn't fabrication. Like it was all manipulated into
it was for the show.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I feel like I feel so like wrong as a fan and like also like as somebody that like respects the sports that we've been watching Formula One since like 2001
yeah,
when Juan Pablo Montoya was like our hero.
Which is kind of funny because a lot of people compare Montoya to Verstappen in driving styles.
It is. I mean, Montoya was an aggressive driver, but I don't think I saw some of the similar stuff that I've seen from him and Verstappen. And I guess we can get into that.
All right, so I'll start from the beginning and I kind of set the table for you to go for it, to tell us. This is going to be a juicy rant. So coming into the very last 5 laps up to where Latifi crashed. What are your opinions? How do you see the race at that point?
So at that point, it's been like a pretty exciting race. Okay, so first, we had like the first like turn 1 incident, or I don't know if it was turn 1. It was like one.
No, lap 1, and I think it was turn 6.
Yeah, turn 6, where like Verstappen launches for it, tries to makes the turn. He makes the turn, and it's aggressive, but he makes it, and then Hamilton goes off into the side. The stewards said that was fine. We thought it was pretty close. That like it was a close call, but at the end of the day, I was of the perspective that if they would have given Hamilton a 5-second penalty for that, totally fine. I'm okay with it.
Or if they would have made Hamilton give the position to Verstappen, because it did seem like Verstappen did overtake Hamilton, but also he kind of forced him off the track. So I think because of the ambiguity of that specific incident, I guess I'm okay with the steward's decision. It's like, okay, let's not do anything. But I do think that Hamilton could have given back his advantage a little more, because I think coming into the corner, they were pretty much under a second each. And then after the incident happened, like I remember seeing Hamilton's like time ahead of Verstappen. It was like 1.2, 1.3 seconds. And I'm like, I don't think he had a second of advantage over Verstappen before that incident occurred.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think he needs to slow down more, if anything. But the stewards didn't want to get involved. And I'm like, okay, maybe I think that was a little bit helping Hamilton a little bit.
I think so too, and I think I at the end of the day, it looked like it was the first lap, and I think they want to let them race in the first lap usually, and so I was like, okay, I guess it kind of makes sense, and it's also like it was a very very aggressive move by Verstappen that I don't think like
he came really from very far back. Like you wouldn't think that he would have just slammed on the brakes. Like he has just a lot of confidence on the brakes in his car. So
yeah, and you don't necessarily want drivers doing that. It's like a dive bomb that like it could, if the other driver doesn't concede, they were just gonna crash. So like in a way, it's like it's kind of a fair move, but what is Hamilton supposed to do, especially when you're dealing with Verstappen? I think Hamilton did everything correctly. He moved out of the way. He took the outside route, and it was like, I'm not gonna crash my car, and I let the FIA decide. And the FIA decided that no investigation was necessary, so we moved on. And like immediately, it was evident that like he just had more picks. So the race goes on, and you think like, okay, it looks like Hamilton is just gonna is gonna compete. He's gonna get far away, but he didn't. They both pitted. Verstappen pitted first. Yeah. Hamilton pitted to cover him, so that like there wouldn't be any shenanigans. And then like he had like I don't know, it was like a 9-second advantage over the guy.
I think he had like 5 or 6 seconds. Yeah, somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds from Verstappen, and then Giovinazzi retired.
And then is that no. Yeah. Before that, he came to Perez.
Oh yeah, he came to Perez.
And Perez like is slow, like great defense by Perez.
I think Perez is amazing for what he did. Like,
yeah,
it's like one of those drivers that can just really fight. I think he did the same thing in Turkey, like just defending from Hamilton, like lap after lap and turn after turn. They just go wheel to wheel every single time. And Perez, like, I don't think he's as comfortable as Verstappen is with the Red Bull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but the guy, when it comes to defensive driving, and like if you give him a car where he's comfortable, like if he can do this with this one, holy shit, like I don't know what he can do in like one car that like is meant for him to drive. Like the guy's really good in his racecraft.
Yeah, and I think everything he did was legal. Like he slowed down, but not enough to that I was like, what is he doing? Like he parked it like on the right spots as well.
I mean,
to make sure that Hamilton couldn't pass him.
I think during the sector 1 and sector 2, you can see that they were really going for it. And then because during sector 3, Perez came out ahead of Hamilton. Sector 3, Perez really slowed down. Like Verstappen had like 8 seconds behind Hamilton. Yeah. And then by the end, like when they came to sector 1, the end of sector 1 on the next lap, Verstappen was 2 seconds behind. So he slowed down.
It was less than that. It was like Verstappen was like a second, like, maybe 1.2 seconds.
1 point something seconds, like behind. And I'm like, wow, in one lap, Perez made Hamilton lose 6 seconds. Like you see sometimes when like they're lapping the back markers that they may lose a second or two. Mm-hmm. Perez just purposely, the way that he drove, 6 seconds that he made Hamilton lose. Like Hamilton even came out, it's like, oh, this is dangerous driving. But I think just Perez really like drove really well defensively.
Yeah, and it kept the race interesting. I was like, okay, so fine. It seems like the race is back on. Let's see what they can do. And then Verstappen couldn't keep up.
Yeah, Verstappen even got a slingshotted with the DRS.
He got a slingshotted. He had like essentially the same tire life as Hamilton at that point, and Hamilton just pulled away again, just flat out, just like outdrove him or outrace him, or his car was faster, however you want to say.
Yeah, but just Hamilton had more pace than Verstappen did.
He just pulled away, right?
Then we come to Giovinazzi.
Then Giovinazzi, and Hamilton cannot pit because also Giovinazzi goes out of the race. Yeah, virtual safety car. He parked it outside the road, but they can still just go at the pace. There's no need to catch up the cars or anything like that. Yeah. So Verstappen goes into the pits.
Yeah,
and Hamilton doesn't go into the pits. So now at this point, like Hamilton is gonna have old tires, and Verstappen is gonna have new tires.
Right? Yeah, and this feels like was it last year or the year before that, the Hungary thing?
It's 2019, I think.
2019, Hungary for Hamilton, that he just pits, gets new tires, and then Verstappen is left in the front with like old tires, and then Hamilton makes up like 20 seconds or so in like 20 laps.
Seconds. Yeah, it's incredible.
So like that's kind of what Verstappen is going to have to do. He's like 17 seconds behind. There's like 21 laps left. Yep. And he's going to have to, they even said it, you need you need 0.8 of a second to go faster than Hamilton every single lap, so you can catch up. Also to say Verstappen did it once in Spain, I think last year or this year.
I don't remember that one. No, I think I do remember.
Yeah, that like they pulled a Hungary on Hamilton.
On Hamilton, yeah, again. Yeah. He was kind of defenseless. Yeah.
I think Hamilton had also done it in a previous occasion. There was a second time. Yeah. But yeah, they had already done this, and I'm like, okay, there's actually a race back again.
I thought it was like, okay, this is it. This is a great race now, because now Verstappen is just gonna have more pace, the pace that he's been lacking, because he's got new tires, and Hamilton's gonna have to nurse us home. There's no way out of it. Like he's just like at this point, there's no other. You cannot get other free like pit stops. This is
and then for people that don't see Formula One, like, they probably don't understand that, like, oh, Verstappen probably doesn't have any chance here. But like, because we know that this sort of event has happened before, we are excited. Like, okay, there's a race going on. Now this is happening. Now it's all the way to the end. Can Verstappen outrace Hamilton on brand new tires?
Exactly.
So it was exciting, yeah.
At this point, I think to myself, you know what? This gap, I mean, it's pretty large. It's 16 seconds, and you have like 20 laps or something like that to make it. I think to myself, okay, there's only like 2 people that could close this gap, and one of them is Hamilton. I know he's done it. Hamilton could close this gap. He could do it. He could win this race. Hamilton could do it
if he was in Verstappen's position.
If he was in Verstappen's position. Now, can Verstappen do the same? Can he craft this race for him to win it? Like, all he has to do is push and push and push and get to Hamilton. And can he do it?
Yeah.
And as we're getting closer and closer and closer, we're now 5 laps before the end of the race, and he's got the gap down to 12 seconds. He couldn't close it, dude. Couldn't close it.
There's 5 laps left, 12 seconds that he still needs to make up, so he couldn't close it. Even though Hamilton was lapping 5 different drivers, Hamilton also lost some time, and now it was Verstappen's turn to lap those cars. But like, he still couldn't close the gap while Hamilton had traffic in front.
While Hamilton had traffic on like Hamilton's tires at this point are like 39 laps old, and and they're the hards, but Verstappen has the same hards, but they're only like 9 laps old. Or something like that.
No, there's like at least 15, because at least 15.
Oh, they were older. They were, they had been like used, maybe like.
No, it's because by the time that he got the new tires, there were like 21 laps left. So if there's only 5 laps left now, the tires were like 15 or 16 laps old.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And so we come to the second incident, the second free stop that Verstappen gets.
Yes, and then like this is the like Latifi incident, which. Yes. Oh man, now I want to be upset with Latifi, but I know it's not his fault. It just happens, and it just happens that it's him every time.
And it shouldn't be his fault. I mean, like, yes, I also have feelings of like, why Latifi? Why did this have to happen? But it really is not. It's not his fault.
It's just an incident.
Yeah,
it
happened.
It's an incident. It happened. That's just the guy.
Exactly. And so what happens is that Hamilton needs to stay out, because if he pits, he's going to come out behind Verstappen, and there's a good chance that we end up behind the safety car, so he will just be essentially conceding the race.
Yeah, because there's like 5 laps left. Then when Latifi crashes and Hamilton then crosses the finish line, so from the 5 laps left, it becomes now 4 laps left. And at the point with 4 laps is like, okay, is there even going to be a restart of the race? And part of me thinks like, oh, fuck, like Verstappen is going to get the brand new tires.
Yep.
He's going to be right behind Hamilton. And because the pack is going to be all bunched up, he's going to overtake Hamilton. And that was my first instinct during that first safety car lap. And I'm like, okay, Verstappen got a free pit stop. And I'm like, there's nothing that Hamilton can do at this point. I think they're just kind of lost the race. He cannot even pit anymore because the pack is already bunched up. So he doesn't get the free pit stop that Verstappen has. And there's like now 3 laps to go.
Yeah.
But then when those 3 laps happen, they still show the Latifi footage and the car is still parked on the road.
It's still parked in the road. They haven't been able to move it out.
Yeah,
they just haven't been quick enough to do it.
Yeah, the vehicle that lifts up the car is not even on the track yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, there's going to be at least one more lap of this. Then the cars have to unlap themselves because there's 8 cars that have been lapped. Then they need to catch up to the pack. And then the race needs to restart. Right. So every single one of those things is a lap. It's like, okay, they have to clear the car. That's going to be 1 lap. Now we're down to 2. Then the cars unlap themselves. That's 1. And then the safety car comes in the lap. So that's 3 laps, means the fucking race is going to end under the safety car.
Under the safety car.
And that's it. Yeah. Or the other thing that they could have done is like, okay, the cars don't unlap themselves.
They don't unlap themselves.
And there's
they restart the race.
They restart the race with 1 lap to go. And Verstappen has to make up the position of 5 lapped cars.
Exactly.
Obviously, these 5 lap cars will have blue flags.
They will have blue flags. They will just have to move out of the way.
Yeah. Obviously,
like turn 2 or 3. By that point, Verstappen should have cleared them.
Yeah. It depends how every car does it, but there's those 5 cars left. And then we're even told, like the lap before that is like, okay, we're not gonna let the lap cars, then the race will restart with no lapped cars.
Exactly.
And then with the cars not unlapping themselves.
And then you hear in the microphone, like you hear Christian Horner talking to Michael Massey and telling him like, we don't want those cars there. Like what happens like with all these cars there? You cannot leave those cars there. And Verstappen's also complaining about it. So Michael Massey is like, okay, let me see what I can do. And he makes the decision out of nowhere to
win that same lap.
In that same lap, in the second to last lap, like literally like 6 or like 5 or 6 turns before the next lap, before the final lap, he says, let 5 cars go through. Or like 4 or 5 cars.
Yeah, the 5 cars between Hamilton and Verstappen. Just let them go.
And
then safety car in.
And then safety car in immediately. Don't even let them catch up.
Yeah,
which is against the rules.
Also, without letting them, the Mercedes team know that this is happening. It's like it just happened. And then everybody's like, what the fuck just is happening? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, like
nobody knows. Like just 5 cars go through and then like safety car in is like, how do you have like the chance to like, what the fuck are you doing? What is going on? You're not letting us know shit. Like we're watching it live and we're the fucking team doing everything.
At this point, at this point, I'm screaming on the top of my lungs. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like how is this happening? You know, like if there is a moment in Formula One or in any sports where like the referees or the arbiters shouldn't interfere, is at the very last moment of the last season of the season. Like at the last few minutes, there should be no interference. No interference. You play how the rules are played. Like this is what everybody signed up to. Everybody signed the contracts. Everybody looked at the rules and everybody agreed. Like, okay, if there's a safety car and cars need to either not unlap themselves or unlap themselves and restart it like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is what everybody signed on to. Why the fuck is the race director on the second to last lap of the season deciding this?
There's 22 fucking races in the season, and in the very last race of the season, when there's 1 lap left, he changes the rules.
He changes
and fabricates it.
And worst of all is that like it's not even fair racing at that point, because Hamilton is struggling on those tires. We all know it.
He's nursing them home. Also like a couple of laps, like 5 or so laps before the Latifi incident, Lando Norris had a puncture.
So we know it was dangerous.
We know it's dangerous. That like, okay, Hamilton is already with like 40 laps, 40 something laps old on his tires.
Yeah.
And he's nursing them home, trying to not get a puncture, trying to fucking make the race happen and like end it.
Staying on pace.
And staying on pace.
Yeah.
lapping people, make sure that Verstappen doesn't catch him. So he's managing the race. He's like, like there's that like famous like audio that is like you're watching a master at work. That's kind of what it felt like, and I'm like, there's nothing like nothing more beautiful. It's like I never got the chance to watch Michael Jordan play basketball, but it's kind of like that. Like you watch these drivers, especially Lewis
like
Hamilton.
The legends, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the legend, Lewis Hamilton. I know that it's boring seeing him win every fucking time, especially over the last few years. But like, it's gonna be looked back in history. It's like watching Michael Jordan play. Like every single race, the guy is on top, and he like I know that for a couple of years, the Mercedes car just was like unparalleled to any other car.
It was a faster car, yeah.
But the guy still beats his teammate. Bottas doesn't do shit. Yeah. And then every time that he's giving like a tough situation, the guy just manages to fucking pull it through. And his teammate is nowhere to be like even remotely seen, even though they have the same car. So
he doesn't crash, he doesn't tilt, he drives every race like I think like the ideal driver should drive it. Like he makes the right decisions at the right times. And when he has to go for moves, he pulls them. Like it's like
I have to overtake, and then he overtakes,
and then he makes crazy overtakes every now and then. It's just like like he pulls out dummies and shit. Like the guy understands driving a car. Like that's what the guy does. The guy understands how to drive a car.
Yeah, it's
and he's the fastest.
Yeah, you go from the back, you go all the way to the front, and none of the times, for example, in Brazil this year, that he goes from the very last spot to fifth, and then he gets the grid penalty, then from 10th to first.
Yeah.
I can't say that any of those 25 overtakes were aggressive or dirty or anything. It's just the guy is just a fucking class act when it comes to driving a fucking Formula One car.
Right. I think when people complain about Hamilton, they complain about like his personality, or about like maybe he's an activist and like they don't like seeing that, or they complain that like he complains in the radio about his tires when he's like doing the fastest lap.
It's like, my tires are gone, and then like he pulls out the fastest lap there 2 laps after.
Right. I mean that's why people complain about Hamilton, but in reality, he's a very fair driver. I never seen him do anything that I would describe as dirty.
Yeah, if you take away his personality and you just watch the guy just drive the car, the guy's pretty fucking flawless for the most part.
Yeah, and the closest he got was like in Silverstone.
In Silverstone,
when like it was like that touch. I think I don't think it was. I think it was a racing incident. And I think they gave him that 10-second penalty because in a racing incident, the other driver ended up worst. And like he ended up out of the race,
and
so
I
they
think
need to do something.
Even though it's a racing incident, perhaps it's not 50-50.
Right.
Maybe there's more fault definitely on Hamilton's end. That's a very hard turn, like to try to overtake another driver. And he couldn't make it stick, and then Verstappen was like out, although some fault is also on Verstappen for parking the car right in the middle of the road, even though Hamilton is in the inside. So I know that there's a debate, and I don't want to focus so much on that specific debate.
That one specifically, yeah.
That they're just like racing. You know that there's ambiguity. That is like this guy's fault, maybe this guy's fault, a little bit of both, not 50-50. And then at the end, well, Hamilton got penalized. Yeah. So with that, if we go back to the race, you have the 5 laps left for the fucking championship. If it would have been any other race in the season, it just would have ended under the safety car.
It just would have, there's no question about it.
There's no climax. Yeah, it's a little anticlimactic. It's not like the big show that we all expect Formula One to be. And like we had the whole season to be an amazing show. And if it ends like this, it's like, look, at the end of the day, in this specific race, Hamilton outdrove Verstappen.
He was just faster the entire race. He was in the right spot at the right time. And honestly, he would have won the race had not the incident not happened.
What happens if the incident is just like a lap later?
Yeah, exactly. Any way that you see it, like Hamilton was dominating the race 100%. Like I think probably like 6-7 laps before the race ends, Verstappen on the car, he's probably just understands that like he didn't win this season. Like he couldn't bring it on the last race. He couldn't outrace Hamilton. Hamilton was gonna beat him. And that was gonna be the reality of things. Yeah. And then this fucking guy, this fucking Michael Massey, allows 5 cars to go through, not the entire pack, just 5 cars.
Yeah, because there's still 3 cars behind Verstappen, right?
Yep. Not the entire pack like you're supposed to do, even though they're saying that the any whatever, like the definition of any is
we can go a little bit in the rules a little bit after, but there are some things that, for example, I don't understand, and I don't know why other teams aren't complaining about this, right? You have 5 cars that are unlapping themselves, and those cars are also driving for position, you know. There's 3 cars behind Verstappen that are also driving for position, and I think they're fighting for 10th spot or 9th spot. So these drivers are still fucking going for points. It is important whether the points matter for the championship. They're still fucking going. They're still racing to get points. It matters for them, for their like driver competition.
For the championship, I mean, Leclerc was one of them. You know, Leclerc, he ended up a lot worse. I mean, I don't know if it would have changed a lot, but maybe it would have. Maybe an incident or something.
Yeah. Right? So now you are giving, because you want to create a show between 2 drivers, Hamilton and Verstappen. What about the other 5 drivers that they got fucked? They were also in the race, and they were allowed to pass. And now the race started, and they're like all the way in the back. Like now they have to make up a lap that they couldn't make up. And what the fuck is going on with them? Like, are they racing? Are they not racing? How does it work for them?
And the rules literally state that, like, if you're gonna let unlap cars unlap themselves or lap cars unlap themselves, they have to go all the way around and they have to come back to the back. Right?
They have 1 lap to do so.
They have 1 lap to do so. So no matter what, the race should end at that point. It should end on lap 58. That we couldn't get out of the safety car lock. We're just locked into the race.
What happened to those cars? Were they racing when they unlapped themselves and they crossed the car?
I don't even know. So they crossed driving and it just turned green for them or something.
So it's like they're driving, they unlap themselves, and they cross the finish line, and they still have to make up. But that was the finish line where the safety car came in. So are they racing after the fucking finish line gets crossed? Like, are they not racing? Are they supposed to just now keep position for an entire lap while the rest of the pack is also, and then they just have to end the race like that? Can they race? It's like, I don't fucking know what's going on.
I don't understand that either. It's a huge, if you look at it objectively, it's a huge disadvantage to those cars. In any other race, everybody will be absolutely baffled, be like, what the fuck is going on? Because
what ends up happening is, like, they unlap themselves. Let's assume that all 8 cars unlap themselves as opposed to just the 5 that did. They all go to the back of the pack, and now the field is bunched up. So if the race restarts, all of these people can make up all those places in that, like in a lap of racing. Right. So, or there could be an accident or something. Some cars may like go out, and then these people can actually fight for points for the constructors championship. So what the fuck is up with that? Like, oh, let's forget about all of that. Let's forget about those drivers. It's only about Verstappen and Hamilton.
It's only about Verstappen and Hamilton. And the worst part is that Hamilton is fucked. We all know it. Like,
everybody knows. Like, if the race restarts like that, we all know they just gave the championship to Verstappen.
It's what, like, Toto is like pleading with this fucking dude on the radio. It's like, what are you doing? This is so wrong. Because it is wrong. And I know we're all wrong.
It's kind of funny even to laugh at Toto, because, like, the only thing you can see, it happens so immediate, and he wasn't even told. Like, Mercedes weren't told. It's like, oh, this is just happening. And then he's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, when we hear the Toto message, is like, no, Michael, no. Like, that's all you can say is like, no. Like, just like, you know, when you're like in a panic situation and you cannot fucking, hey, Michael, by the way, that shouldn't happen. Exactly. It's like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Just like, fucking know.
Like, you're fucking up everything. And the shameless answer, it's shameless that the guy is like, it's motorsport racing. What do you want from me? I'm like, Are you fucking kidding me? You just bend the goddamn rules for a driver. You literally just favorited a driver to win on top of the other because this is how you wanted the race to play out. It's against the rules.
Because you wanted to fabricate a show. It's like the same fucking thing of like, it's one lap to go and the story will play out amazing. Hamilton leads the entire race from beginning to end. And then like he overtakes Perez, and then he does all of this, and Verstappen fought every single time. And at the very last lap of the race, Verstappen took the championship. It's like, it's fabricated. When we saw like Brazil 2008, Hamilton did win it, but there was no fucking fabrication. It actually happened. And that fucking race and that championship, it's beautiful and amazing to watch because that happened and it was natural and it stayed within the rules and nobody got involved. It's just, and like,
it was essentially, it was a miracle what happened.
Yes,
to Hamilton on that race. Like he was able to get that fit spot and win the championship. Incredible. This was no miracle. This was no fucking
miracle. Was no miracle for Verstappen. They say like, oh, we needed a miracle. It's like, what miracle? This was fabricated by the FIA and the race director. Like they just fabricated this. And like you have a season like it's like a perfect season, beautiful, going back and forth every single race.
It was a beautiful season.
Every single race, fucking Hamilton, Verstappen, 1 and 2, just one after the other, fucking racing every single time. Verstappen seems like he has it for the very first beginning of the year. Then Hamilton, over the past 4 races, is driving his fucking heart out. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's like Hamilton is coming with a vengeance to fucking win this championship and nobody's gonna take it away from him.
Like, my God, like when he won Brazil, and Bottas came out and said that was the drive of a champion. I was like, yes, like I total respect to Bottas for saying that was the drive of a champion. Yeah, he drove 25 fucking spots to the top and won that race. Nobody else could have done it. Bottas couldn't even make some overpasses on that race. Like the guy was in the
same car. Well, yeah, I know they have the same like different engines, but
different engines, sure.
Like even if Bottas was to have the same engine, I doubt that he could have done that race.
I honestly don't think he could have. And then he does the same thing on the next race. Not like 25 places back, but he fights it all the way through on a street circuit.
Oh no, you're talking about Saudi Arabia. The next one was Qatar, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Qatar is it's like a blip because it was like a good race, but like not full of controversy.
Yeah, it was fine. But then he does it again in Saudi Arabia. Like, I mean, he drives an incredible race against all the shenanigans that Verstappen pulls, which I'm gonna call shenanigans, not to call him a dirty driver. But he faces all that, and he still comes out on top on a street circuit, the fastest street circuit that we've seen, and it's a new track, and he does it. The guy pulls it off. Incredible. Yep. And now we're tied. Dead tied, like amazing season.
Which is also, well, talking about the whole fabrication, like the very last lap, it gets fucking fabricated for the show of Michael Massey. It's like, shouldn't be called Formula One. It should be like the Michael Massey show. I just come up with the rules and I make it happen and just fucking put it all in the tank and let's see what comes out. Like, bro, what the fuck is going on?
That's not your fucking job. That's not your fucking job. Your job is to let the racers drive according to the rules that everybody signed on to. And then if there's an incident or something, you make a decision on it.
Whether the outcome is a boring one or not, that's Formula One. That's what we all signed up for. That's what we all signed up for. And also to add to that, it's like the guy is just, I don't know why he has to get involved to make it exciting. Just because the guy is too fucking afraid of like calling attention to himself, and he ends up calling attention to himself.
So he ends up doing it, yeah.
Going up back to Saudi Arabia and Verstappen, the worst thing, one of the worst, if not the worst thing that you can do in a Formula One car is brake test another driver. Yeah. Like you're going 300 kilometers per hour, and Formula One cars have no brake lights. So if you fucking brake in front of the car that's also going 300 kilometers per hour behind you, you pretty much are killing the other driver, if not yourself as well, at the same time. You cannot brake test people in this sport where like you can literally lose your life in an accident like this. I know that we've seen miracles with like 50 Gs crashes and like the drivers surviving. Roman Grosjean, like after the fire incident, we have seen Robert Kubica and like all of these fucking crazy accidents. The one in Australia when Alonso like flipped like a million times a couple of years ago. and people survive. But like, just because
you can survive it doesn't mean
doesn't mean like, oh, I'm gonna fucking brake test. He's gonna survive. But like, brake testing another driver is one of the worst things you can do. So we are Montoya fans. Montoya brake tested at some point, like I believe 2006 in Monaco. He brake tested during like first practice, and he was completely fucking like they gave him like a minute something for his qualifying, like an additional minute. He has to start like almost from, like, I believe, from the back. So they decided to start from the pit, and they gave him like 2 points on his license. Like, it's like a minute penalty for his qualifying back in 2006. Then Sebastian Vettel. Go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
Well, I was gonna say that I think that the harshest penalty you could even face like a race suspension.
Race suspension, yeah.
Just for doing that.
Then you have Sebastian Vettel when he fucking crashes onto Lewis Hamilton because he believes that Lewis brake tested him, which it didn't happen after the whole thing. Although it did seem at the time like, oh, it seems brake tested, but it was seen that Vettel, during that incident, he accelerated out of the corner and was caught by Hamilton not going the speed that Vettel thought he was. And then Vettel slammed his car against fucking Hamilton. You purposely crash into another driver. It's like, okay, that's like another one of the things. It's like brake testing. Crashing into another driver on purpose.
Purposefully, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and Vettel got 2 points on his license, and then he got a drive-through stop and go penalty, which is like the harshest penalty you can give a fucking racing driver in the middle of the race. You're basically giving him,
you're essentially stopping him from the winning.
Yeah, the 20 seconds that you are in the pit lane plus 10 seconds to stopping the car, like 30 seconds pretty much, depending on how big the pit lane is. And that's what Vettel got. Then for Max Verstappen, they gave him a 10-second penalty, just 10 seconds. He does get 2 points on his license.
But they gave it to him at the end of the race.
At the end of the race, after everything was over. Obviously, they didn't know if Max Verstappen brake tested him during the race. They had to look at the telemetry, and it was seen like, bro, what the fuck? You brake tested another driver? I know whether he did it on purpose or whether he didn't do it on purpose, that doesn't fucking matter. Like, so I know that these accidents happen, but they're not like, you're not supposed to do that whether you did it on purpose or not. It's like the same reason. Like, if you commit a crime, like, just not knowing that you're committing a crime doesn't absolve you for that crime.
Exactly.
You still did it. You have to pay the consequences. I'm sorry that this happened. It should have been a 30-second penalty, and you shouldn't have ended second. But Michael Massey,
it shouldn't have happened like that. Yeah.
But Michael Massey is the same thing. He just fucking gets involved. He's like, let's give him a 10-second penalty because it would be so fucking good and juicy and tasty if we go on to the very last fucking race of the season and they have the same points. And they have to battle it all out in the very last race. It's, again, just a fabrication, and it's not what Formula One is. Just give me the penalties as they are, no matter what the incident is.
Yes. And I think we can discuss a little bit more about, Hamilton versus Verstappen, like in their personalities a little bit. But yeah, let's finish the race. So what happens at the end? At the end, they restart the race. They let 5 cars go through.
Yeah, with 1 lap to go.
With 1 lap to go, and then obviously Verstappen overtakes Hamilton. And to top it all off, he overtakes him, and then on that same turn that he overtakes, he starts swerving back and forth.
Oh yeah,
back and forth in the circuit. I'm like, how the fuck is this allowed? This is he's been warned about this shit before so many times. Like, we've seen this. Like Alonso was trying to pull this shit too, and he was also warned about it. So if there's warnings about this, and he knows about it, why are you allowing this to happen again? Like,
I know that is could be a topic of contention, because yes, you're not allowed to fucking swerve back and forth like that. I know that he's trying to break the toe, but we have seen it. I think it was also in Silverstone. I think Daniel Ricciardo was swerving back and forth a couple of times. He got a warning. It's like, hey, you can't do that. Next time you're gonna get a penalty. It's like, we know that drivers are not allowed to do that. But I think the way, and this is just what Verstappen is just really good at, is that he pushes the fucking rules to the absolute limit, and see what he can get away with. And a lot of people might say that's like the magic of Verstappen, but then again, it's like it's just
magic,
it's so frustrating at times because and it should also and it must be so frustrating also for Max Verstappen as well, that in one race he's allowed to do one move and he goes away with it, and then the next race he doesn't get away with it. There's 5 seconds, and now me as a fucking fan, and I'm like, which one is it? Because if in Brazil he pushes Hamilton off and he gets away with it, okay, so I guess there's no penalty for that. And then in Saudi Arabia he pushes Hamilton off and then he gets 5 seconds, and I'm like, oh, so he should have gotten 5 seconds in Brazil. Yeah. Like now which one is it? Why didn't he get him then? And then in this one he swerves back and forth. I know that is the last lap. I know that the FIA doesn't want to fucking do more paperwork. Everybody wants to go home, pack it up. It's been fucking stressful, but he should have gotten a warning for like swerving back and forth at least. Even just stick to the rules. Tell me what it is allowed, because now all the new fans that are watching Formula One are like, oh, you can just do that.
Yeah, you can just swerve in the
middle. You can just swerve back and forth multiple times, defending your position and breaking the toe. And I'm like, bro, that's not a fucking allowed. You're
not supposed to. And like they should just make a ruling for it already, because it's been happening so many times. It's like it's almost as if they're saying you can do it once in the race, you're gonna get a warning, and then you can't do it again. So you just have to pick your moments. I guess.
You have to pick your one moment where you can do it. And I mean, and so Verstappen pushes it to like, oh, I'm gonna do it at the fucking last
lap, and they can't say anything.
They can't say anything because the race is gonna be over and I'm gonna win. It's like,
or they give me a little shitty warning, and I'm like, okay, I already know.
Yeah, and then the repercussions from this is like, okay, so now in future races, if I overtake a car in the last lap of the race, I can swerve back and forth as many times as I fucking want, and then like it doesn't matter because the race is gonna end, so I'm gonna get away with it. Yep. So this is like the fucking thing with the FIA, and it's just so frustrating to watch it, and it's a shit show overall. It's a fucking clown show and a disgrace to Formula One. What this fucking thing is going on.
Yeah, and what I'll say, what I will say about the FIA is that this year I think it's been particularly controversial because they had to make so many callings, and the reason for that is Verstappen. Verstappen really is like. He's a dirty driver. Like I think we just have to admit it. We all just have to
aggressive drive.
I think we all just have to call it what it is. The guy will crash into his opponent if that benefits him. Now there's a few.
Not if it benefits him, but if like
he crashed into Hamilton.
The way that it goes is like Verstappen pushes the rules so much, and he pushes the limits of racing so fucking much, where is I'm gonna put my car right here because this is the best position for my car to be in. But that means that if you want to fight me for this position, we are gonna crash, or you're gonna have to give me the position.
No, and but it's been like that sometimes. But there's other times where he literally goes off the track. He literally goes off the track.
He's getting penalized to prevent something. So there's Brazil, there's Saudi Arabia. In this one in Abu Dhabi, he pushed Hamilton off like with that big lunge. But yeah, he just fucking pushes the limits every time. And then on Silverstone, he parked the fucking car in the middle of the road. Oh, well, there's the whole Hamilton thing. But then in Monza, the guy also like Hamilton did the same thing that Verstappen was doing. Hamilton parked the fucking car in Monza in the middle of the fucking turn. Verstappen didn't give way, crashed into Hamilton, which is the same. Which is what Verstappen does. He parks the car in the fucking middle of the track.
No, I cannot agree. I cannot agree with that. I don't think Hamilton was doing anything wrong.
He was turning in, and that wasn't Verstappen's turn.
If you look at the footage of that race, Verstappen never has the turn. Verstappen never is even close to having his nose ahead on turn one. And then on
in
turn
Monza,
two, in Monza. And turn two, he's fully behind Hamilton. He literally crashed his car into Hamilton. Hamilton, there was no reason why he had to yield at all. He didn't have to. He just
and then this is what you can see is like Hamilton, and there's a good video about it, which if anybody want to watch it, I'll do the job for you. And I'll link it as to Hamilton could have been more aggressive in his defending and pulled more like of a Max Verstappen move, because in that same race, in the very first lap of the race, Hamilton and Verstappen go side to side, and Verstappen, I believe it's turn 3, Verstappen, turn 3 or turn 4, in the second chicane of Monza, Verstappen pushes Hamilton out of the fucking track by wide, like turning very wide, and Hamilton is forced to jump the fucking curbs to push him off the track. And then for when they crash in Monza specifically, Hamilton doesn't push Verstappen wide. He actually gives him room, which he doesn't need to do. He doesn't need to do that, but the fucking, it's like, hey,
the guy's gonna crash into you.
The guy's not gonna do that. It's like the same thing. There's just some people that know how to race, and they are respectful racers, and they fucking leave the space. I'm thinking of like George Russell and Fernando Alonso in Austria. That was fucking beautiful to watch. George Russell and Fernando Alonso fucking fighting, and then they're giving each other space. Even like after turn 4, like when they come into turn 5 and 6, that I'm like, they're actually fighting side to side into that fucking turn where like people would be pushed off the whole fucking time.
Yes.
Like, and these guys are giving each other space. They're respectful. They're not pushing each other off the fucking track. It shouldn't be allowed to push another driver off the fucking track. Leave it space.
And everybody knows that that's what there's penalties. When you push somebody off, you either are supposed to give the position back, or you receive a penalty for something like that.
Every time that it happens,
you're not supposed to let it happen.
Every time that it happens, and for any Formula One driver, like, you can say and defend Verstappen all you want, but like when you see something like the George Russell and Fernando Alonso going fucking side to side trying to overtake each other, same when like Hamilton overtakes Alonso in Hungary, like these are all very classy, very on the track overtakes. Nobody's going off track, and then that's remembered as to like, wow, that was a beautiful moment. I love seeing that fucking racecraft from all of these drivers. They're so fucking beautiful. And then you see Verstappen, and when he pushes people off the track, people are like, oh, he's so good and he's so aggressive. And I'm like, bro, that's just, I mean, like you say, it's dirty. It's like, how come we appreciate the ones that like we stay on the track, but then because Max Verstappen is like the favorite of the season and the underdog and the one that, and people don't want Hamilton to win, then when he does something that is dirty, people is like, oh, he's just aggressive. So it's exciting to watch. And I'm like, bro, like, you appreciate the ones that are on the track, that are beautiful battles, but then you make an exception for Verstappen.
And honestly, I can't say that, like, I mean, I'll quote Fernando Alonso, like, the shit that I've seen from this guy, I ain't never seen from anybody else. Like
but you know that Alonso supports Verstappen, right? He didn't say that about Verstappen.
No, he said about Magnussen. But I do. It's unbelievable. Like, I see this guy, and like, he literally he's used every single dirty trick in the book just to see if he can get away with it, which is why the FIA had to get involved in so many times this season. We don't want to see that, because it's not supposed to happen. Drivers, you sort of, I guess, are supposed to respect other drivers and respect the craft. But this guy just wants to fucking win, and we know it.
And he doesn't care. And then he
doesn't care.
Most
do whatever he has to.
Egregious and in a way disgusting to watch is that, like, obviously during the moment, it's like, for example, in the Monza incident, that was a Mercedes track, and if they crash into each other, it benefits Verstappen because he's ahead in the championship. And then, like, it's also, and I dare anybody that is into Formula One to also say that they weren't afraid that in the last race of the season, even though they were tied on points and Verstappen would have won the tiebreaker, that I would dare anybody to say that they were not afraid that Verstappen was going to crash into Hamilton to win the championship. People had it on their mind. And it was like a legit possibility. Verstappen might fucking park his car in the middle of the road and like crash with Hamilton, and the championship is going to be decided by the tiebreaker. All had that fucking feeling.
If that was the last option for him, he would have done it. And that's why going into that hairpin on Abu Dhabi, where in the last lap Verstappen passed.
Yeah, in turn 4.
That's why I think Hamilton couldn't close the door. He closes the door, Verstappen is just gonna go in the back of him. That's what I'm thinking. At no point can Hamilton ever close the door on Verstappen, because he knows that
could be just to like parenthesis. That could be a subjective call, not an objective one. But
it may be speculation. I'll admit that. I'll admit that. I just think that seeing Hamilton's driving style around Verstappen is very much like I'll do what the cleanest that I can. I'll try to stay away from him, give him room,
Yeah.
because the guy will try to go into me.
And it reminds me like the same thing with Verstappen and what you say about the Monza thing. Hamilton was ahead on that fucking turn. And yeah, maybe not fully, whatever. There could be some speculation, but then riddle me this, Formula One Verstappen fans, whatever. Saudi Arabia. Hamilton gets away in the I think in the restart, I believe, before when I think it's the first restart after Schumacher crashes. Hamilton gets away and passes Verstappen before turn one, and he is clearly ahead of Max Verstappen coming into that turn. If you see, just fucking watch the onboard footage. Like I would show the fucking video, but obviously if you show fucking videos of Formula One in YouTube, they take your video down. Maybe I can take some fucking screenshots and show you and that restart, and everybody that wants to fucking watch it, watch the onboard of Verstappen. Hamilton is in front, Verstappen is behind, coming into turn one. And it isn't until Hamilton starts turning that Verstappen goes on the outside and fucking gets out of the track and comes in and parks the car.
And like he does that, he like shoves him out of the way.
And then he says like, "Oh, Hamilton pushed me off." He's like, "Bro, you never fucking had that turn. You were behind Hamilton. Like, are you kidding me? If you fucking say that, like any driver cannot just say that. Oh, that car was in front of me while they're turning. I'll just fucking drive my car out of the track and come back in." It's like, "Oh, I had the turn and he pushed me off." It's like, bro, you don't fucking do that. It just doesn't make the turn is not your turn, and you fucking went on the outside of the track to overtake Hamilton when that turn was not yours. You fucking lost it. You didn't have the reaction time at the start, and you lost the position.
Yeah, and unfairly. Like Hamilton did nothing wrong on that.
Hamilton, all he did, he actually overtook Verstappen, like of the racing line, and then when he turned. That's just all he did. I'm gonna turn. He turns left, and then when he turns right, there's fucking Verstappen parked in the middle of the fucking racetrack. How does that work? And like,
and then
Michael Massey. I am gonna give you the opportunity. It's like, bro, you're the fucking race director. Just tell him that he needs to be behind.
Follow the rules, man. The guy got a position outside the thing. Make him return the fucking place back, or give him the goddamn penalty. And this is what you do. It's not a negotiating like in the middle of the race when like everybody like you're gonna negotiate with like the engineers as they're like trying to win the race.
The guy is just so fucking useless. He doesn't know what to do under pressure. It's just such a shame that the FIA has let this fucking guy stay there for so long, just ruining race after every race that we're talking about. Like every race of Formula One, there's always a controversy that we're talking about. It's not about like the racecraft or how beautiful. It's like the fucking FIA, and maybe that's what's driving the viewers. But like, I'm not fucking gonna watch Formula One. If I want the drama, I watch Drive to Survive on Netflix.
Watch Drive to Survive. But I'm here to watch like the best drivers in the world in the fastest car, seeing who is the fucking fastest. Some of it is the car, but some of it is like actual like racecraft. Like you have to prepare for the weekend. You have to set up your car. You have to drive the race, and you have to make it to the end. Every single time that you want to win, that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. And that's the sport. That's what the sport should be. And
it's such a shame because this fucking guy, even during the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, like there was a moment where Latifi was still parked on the road. And then Jonathan, I don't know if Jonathan is from Mercedes or from Red Bull, but they're messaging him. It's like, Michael, what are we going to do about this? And then he's like, yeah, 1 second, Jonathan. I'm still trying to, 1 minute. I'm trying to get the wreck out of the car. It's like, he's still like, stuttering, and I'm like, bro, you like they ask you a legit question about like, are we gonna put the safety car out? No safety car. What the fuck is going on? And then you're like, give me a minute. I have a car to get off the track. He's like, he's like, please don't talk to me right now. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's like the SpongeBob meme, just like SpongeBob running when everything is burning, he said like all the paper. What are we doing? That's fucking Michael Massey when anything happens in Formula One.
But again, I mean, yes, the guy sucks at his job, but I think it's also because Verstappen is pushing the rules so much that we just have to deal with this shit every single race. I mean, there's also a discussion there to be had, a small discussion. I don't want to deviate too much, but the importance of your second drivers. If Bottas was in the championship, which by all rights he should be, he's in a fucking Mercedes. Like Verstappen couldn't get away with this shit. Like if Bottas was like in third place, closely following, on points, then Verstappen couldn't just crash into Hamilton. But like all the things line up so that like he was only driving against Hamilton. He was only like at any point it was only like fuck up Hamilton in some way for me to get an advantage, and that's all he had to do.
Yeah, and then like you can say this even back to some years when it's like maybe beautiful to see Verstappen trying to fight both Mercedes. And you have the Mercedes when like they were at their peak of their potential, also before like engine modes were banned, like that. Now you are supposed to have the same engine mode the whole from qualifying all the way to the race. And Bottas was up there. Like Bottas could only overtake if he had power, the most power in his engine to overtake. And then once he overtook, he brought down the power. That's when Bottas was 1-2 with Hamilton the whole time. And then you have Max Verstappen fighting for a victory the whole time, and Mercedes would fucking toy with him every single race. Verstappen is trying to beat two Mercedes at their peak of their potential when they have the best car. And then when you see Verstappen up there, it's also good to appreciate the guys. Like the guy's trying his fucking best. But you have Gasly that is doing jack shit on the Red Bull at that time, even though Gasly is good at the moment. But at the time he was doing jack shit. Then you have Alex Albon also doing jack shit in that fucking Red Bull. And Verstappen is just himself fighting against two Mercedes. And he just can't compete. It's 2 against 1, and it's very difficult when that happens. And when Verstappen actually does get ahead of them, it was like, okay, this guy is fucking good, and he did it. And that's kind of what happened in Abu Dhabi. You have Hamilton by himself against both Red Bulls, and he outdrove them both. To actually like, okay, the guy, maybe over the rest of the season, like, Verstappen had bad luck in Baku when he crashed. Also, when Bottas fucking took him out in Hungary. But all of these incidents, like, even though you can say that Lewis had more luck, it came down to the last one race, which is the one that fucking matters. It's like, who's gonna fucking outdrive each other on this fucking race? And Hamilton was winning it. And then the guy and the FIA
Michael Masi just decided to step in.
Fabricates a fucking show.
I compare this to is like, let's say you're watching a chess match, the World Championship.
Which just happened. Magnus Carlsen.
And then it's like, imagine somebody like one of the players just like moves the king like into a check and then moves it again or something like that. Some arbiter comes like, okay, for this turn only, the rooks can move diagonally. They're gonna move diagonally. We're gonna allow this once because it's gonna be really exciting. It's gonna be really exciting, and we're gonna make a lot of money on it. And it's like, bro, or it's like a different one that I was thinking about earlier. It's like, imagine you're watching American football. It gets to the last like two minutes, and the winning team is just taking the knee, right? It's like if the judge come in and it's like, you know what, we're just gonna add an extra minute. We want a really dramatic ending, and we want the other team to have the ball back. We're just gonna add an extra minute. It's kind of like, no, but when this is unprecedented, and the shit that Michael Masi did is fucking unprecedented.
It's unprecedented. Like, it's fucking 70 years of Formula One. This has never happened. We all know, and we've grown to know what the fucking outcome of certain situations in Formula One is. The safety car comes in. We all know what's gonna happen.
We all know.
Like all the fans that are watching Formula One, we are like, we know what the precedent is. We know what is supposed to happen. We can anticipate, oh, yeah, it's going to be anticlimactic. The race is going to end behind the safety car. We know that as Formula One fans.
And the one time where it shouldn't happen, where like none of this novelty, where you shouldn't be trying to innovate the fucking game, is on the last race, on the second to last lap. Like, my God, what the fuck are you doing? If you wanted them to race, then red flag the fucking thing. You red flag the fucking thing, give him like 3 laps, you put him on the pits, let Hamilton have new tires, and then restart the race. Like standing start, get it very exciting. Everybody's going to be talking about it.
Which you can make an argument that like, you shouldn't also have to do that, because we can all clearly see that you're just fabricating another fucking show. but it would have been a fairer show if you wanted to fucking have it. It's not, even if that would have happened, it would have been controversial still.
Yeah.
Regardless of who would have won. Like, you cannot fabricate a show just because it's so exciting to fucking watch. That's not fucking Formula One. It's like it's like in some races it happens. We have the same shit like a Spa this year, that they're not racing and then they go out under the safety car for 2 laps and then he has to end the race under the safety car. It's like, oh, why didn't you fucking fabricate a show on that race? It was raining. It was fucking beautiful. Everybody, it would have been crashes. It would have been spectacular. People racing for their fucking lives to win. It's like, no, but the race said, we're going to let them race for 2 laps only, give them half points because of safety. And yes, sometimes Formula One is boring, but this is what we signed up for. And I'm like, okay. And then in the last race of the season, fuck all of that. Let's fabricate a new show, and in the last lap, let's give Verstappen the championship, because it would play awesome in the media that in the last lap, David beat Goliath, like the underdog versus the 7-time world champion.
They literally fucking stole it from him. I honestly don't know how this guy sleeps at night. Like,
he's probably not sleeping right now.
I mean, probably. Hopefully, that's what I hope. That at least he feels remorse for this shit.
Yeah, and the guy didn't even talk to the media. It's like no comment. There was a picture. I don't know if you saw a picture of him just leaving with his luggage. And I'm like, bro, the guy says something on the media, like everything and anything will be used against you in the court of law if you say something in the media. The guy is like, I have to lawyer up. I have to get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna fucking die. Nah,
man. And then I think it's time to just talk about Hamilton a little bit. I mean, the guy is incredible. The guy is a class A athlete. The guy has overcome so much in his life. Yeah. To be the one black dude in Formula One. He's the one black dude, and he beats everybody. He's faster than everybody. Wins so many races. He drives a beautiful race. He does everything that's within the rules, and he does them correctly. I mean, you couldn't give him a harder race to try and win, because you could give him a harder race, but like this was a pretty challenging race for him to try.
And it's also like an extra thing that in this one is like Red Bull threw everything at him during the race, and even during qualifying by having Perez slingshotting Verstappen.
Yeah.
And I'm like Red Bull are really going for it. And I'm like, props to Red Bull. They're allowed to do that. I'm surprised that Mercedes didn't do that back. But Hamilton is like almost, to me, I don't know if Hamilton at that point said like, I'm not going to let them get to my head. I'm just going to focus on my own thing.
Yeah.
And then like, if he beats me, sure, I'll just pass him on the race and we'll race for this shit. And he does it on turn 1.
And then Verstappen got 2 free stops on that race, and Hamilton was in 39 laps old fucking
40 42 something
40 something, and even with all that, Verstappen couldn't win him. Verstappen couldn't outrace him. They had to fucking give it to him. They just had to hand it to the fucking victory to him, because why? You tell me. I mean, somebody upstairs liked him. And I'm not talking. So somebody in the fucking in the officials room liked him.
The FIA.
And then they decided to fucking give it to him.
When you see, just going back to the Hamilton thing, it's like by the time of this recording, if you're a Formula One fan, you have probably seen the ad in social media about Hamilton masterclass. About his winning mentality. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, all over social media there is like an ad going on, because the people that do master classes of like chess, like Gary Kasparov does a master class and he'll teach you how to play chess. The poker player Daniel Negreanu, he'll teach you how to play poker. Yeah. There's now a master class for Lewis Hamilton as to winning mentality. And I'm like you said, it is a fucking class act that even though this happens to Lewis Hamilton, when he goes in front of the media, he just keeps it. Congratulations to Max. He beat me. I feel like the guy is just a fucking class act, even stepping up, showing up to the podium, like lifting his trophy. Just like
it's unbelievable. It's like he's
that's the winning, like mentality. It's like, look,
Like
I lost today, and I did everything under my control, and I'm still gonna show up and be respectful and be out there and fucking show my face.
Even when they take the championship from you like that, he still fucking shows up. And you know, the image that like broke my heart, that like I watched it and like it destroys me, is when you see Hamilton on the garage afterwards, and like his dad is like hugging him and like talking to him in the ear. I don't know what your dad could be telling you at that point. Like, I don't know how you console a kid like that. It like whatever he was telling him, I don't know. It destroyed me. Like,
yeah,
a dad shouldn't have to do that. Like, it was, to me, it felt like an injustice had happened, and like I witnessed it. I witnessed like they took this away from this guy, Hamilton. Like the guy is incredible at driving, and you're gonna take
since
it away
his
from
very
him?
first season of Formula One, the guy has been amazing at driving. There's not one time that I can feel like, oh, Hamilton won the world championship
unfairly or something
because
like
he was aggressive or because he was a dirty driver. Never has Lewis Hamilton fucking won a world championship and has been questioned as to like,
yeah,
oh, he shouldn't have won it because he's a fucking dirty driver. Michael Schumacher was a dirty driver, aggressive driver, crashed into others. And 1994, he won his first world championship by crashing into his rival. On 1997, he tried the same shit and got disqualified. And then all throughout the 2000s, you can see multiple fucking times the guy just pushes people off the track and people are fucking praising him. It's like, oh, he's the best of all. And I'm like, bro, it's not fair drive. Michael Schumacher would have been fucking still penalized and like blamed upon. It's like fucking, well, I know that you like Kevin Magnussen, but Kevin Magnussen, dirty driving. It's like just pushing people off track. It's like, God fucking damn, like this guy wouldn't last in Formula One. Like today with the same shit. It's like you push the rules too much.
I don't know if there was a guy that they could have chosen, a worse guy to take it away from him.
Yeah, and
like,
the complaint against Hamilton is like, oh, but he always wins because he's in the best car. And I'm like, but that's your complaint. The guy has fucking perfect racecraft. And he's fair every single time when you race him. And the times when he's not fair, it's not fully on him. It's like you can call out Silverstone. It's like, oh, the guy took out Max Verstappen. And I'm like, bro, one time in fucking 15, 16 years of career and 7 world champions. And like, and it's not like he won the championship because like that specific move. It's like all of the other years, the guy is just so fucking clean.
He's just, I don't know. He's like a modern day hero. Dude.
He has become a hero, and it's crazy because back in 2017,
and 18,
like 17, 18, 19, I was not a fan of Lewis Hamilton, and I'm like, the guy when he wins, he's like such a good winner. Like when he speaks, and I'm like, I don't think he's genuine, and when he loses, he complains, and I'm like, that the only thing that you can say about Hamilton was that is his fucking personality.
Right.
I couldn't come up with like anything as to like, oh, the guy is dirty on the track, or the guy is like, I just don't like him because when he wins, he acts this way, and when he loses, he acts this way. Exactly. He has nothing to do with how the guy fucking drives. And after a couple of like those years, 17, 18, and 19, and Hamilton is winning, and I'm like, let's take away my bias against Lewis Hamilton during this years, and I'm gonna begin appreciating fucking history in the making.
Yeah,
because this is a guy that when you're gonna look back in history, it's gonna be remembered as Lewis Hamilton owned for these years, and like getting to see another driver do all these things again, that race after race, the guy just wins the next one and then wins the next one, and then you know it's boring. It's like, bro, in a couple of years, you're going to appreciate back, and then you're going to want to watch how a guy and his peak and like mentality, performance, driving, racecraft was fucking owning race after race. Yeah. Even though he had the best car, it's just beautiful how the guy manages every fucking race.
Like everybody knows that like he can manage tires like no one else. Like for example,
correct.
Like
I know that Sergio Perez is really good at managing tires.
Yeah.
But also Sergio Perez hasn't won a world championship. So I'm sorry,
Exactly.
Perez, you're not gonna be there in the contention this year. But Lewis Hamilton
Yeah.
fucking manages his tires better than anybody else. There's like even that famous clip of like Sebastian Vettel, like saying like, oh, if you're a woman and you have this guy massaging you like he manages the tires, it's like, oh man, that's heaven. Like, for real. And that clip,
because the guy is real good. I mean,
that clip age as well. Lewis Hamilton is just a master fucking driving a Formula One car.
I cannot believe the ticket away. Like it breaks my heart. Like, you know, after you watch like a Formula One race and like something happens that you don't like somebody like wins, like Verstappen wins, and I'm like, I like Verstappen actually. I liked him before Monza, but you know, you watch it and you're like, okay, that was a race, and then you move on with your life. You're supposed to just go do something else. But after the race, I couldn't. I couldn't. I was like, I feel wrong. Like as a fan of the sport and just like as a compassionate human being, I sat down and like I felt like a sadness in my stomach. Like what the fuck happened? Like how is this? Like how are things corrupted so much that by the end, like they stole this championship from me. I mean, they gave two stops to Verstappen, two free stops to Verstappen. He couldn't close the fucking gap, and then even with all that, they still had to fucking hand it to him. Like, how much more unfair can you make the situation for Hamilton? It's like you hamstring the guy and then like put him on the last lap to suffer. It was disgusting. It was a display of cruelty towards Hamilton to take away the championship that like on like 57 laps he deserved that. 57 laps. Why do you need to do this? Do you not understand like the repercussions?
It's all for a fucking show, and it's just a disgrace for Formula One. It's shameful, an embarrassment, a fucking clown show. And the worst thing is also nobody in the media, like all the people putting out videos about like this situation, is so neutral. It's so neutral. It's so neutral. It's like, bro, fucking slam that on the FIA. It's a fucking disgrace for Formula One to step so low. It's like this fucking like outcome.
It's such a false narrative. Like you see like the Instagram, it's like, oh, it's happy Verstappen won, and like you see the highlights and stuff. And
it's like, oh, and he won it on the last lap. The guy beat fucking Hamilton, and it's like just happy story after the next happy story, and they don't fucking put like the things when people are actually speaking up. Like Formula One is not gonna show that up. It makes them look bad.
Yeah.
They cannot also like take that back. It's like, you know, I was telling like my dad is like, you know, I know that you don't understand how big this moment is in sports history, but it's like when you watch Argentina versus England in the World Cup and Maradona scores with his hand.
With his hand, yeah.
Yeah. And then like they just let that happen, and there's footage, pictures, everything. Everybody's telling them the guy fucking scored with his hand.
With his hand.
And the whole world fucking knows it. And I know that Maradona was a great fucking player, and history looks at him, oh, the guy is amazing. And I'm like, bro, but like at the end of the match, what is the FIFA gonna do? Are they gonna, we're gonna take back that goal, and everything that happens from there on, we're gonna cancel the match. Yeah. At that point, for the people that haven't seen that fucking match, England and Argentina went 1-1 on the score. And then Maradona scored the goal and became 2-1. And then after that, he scored another goal, and then Argentina won 3-1 the World Cup. And then what are they gonna do? We're gonna cancel the Maradona goal, and everything that happened from there on is not gonna count.
Yeah.
And therefore the game is a tie, and they're gonna have to do a penalty shoot. It is the fucking finals of the World Cup. They cannot take that decision back, and Formula One cannot retract back what they fucking did to Lewis Hamilton. No matter how many protests Mercedes puts out, it's just a shame on the sport and the fucking government body if they ever do anything like that. Even Hamilton in the radio after the race, when he lost, he says like they manipulated that man. They didn't transmit that live. Usually They didn't transmit any recording, any radio message between Hamilton and his engineer like that they usually do, because we all want to know what is the fucking loser gonna say. In this situation, the thing that Hamilton says is like they manipulated that. They don't fucking show that. They cannot show a 7-time world champion losing the championship and then claiming that it was manipulated.
Yeah,
it's like it's a fucking shame on the sport if they do that. It looks bad on them.
Yeah, I mean that's it's heartbreaking, because I think Hamilton knows it, but I give huge credit to George Russell. I think he won me as a fan when he came out and he tweeted about this and said like, "Congrats to Max Verstappen." Very happy for him. But at the end of the day, what happened there was unjust. Like it was unfair. Like this shouldn't happen in the sport. And I think every fucking driver in that lineup also knows that if they were winning that race, the way that Hamilton was winning that race, and then the
rules get bent just so the guy behind you can overtake you on the last lap of the race. Every driver will be like, what the fuck is this?
If
that happened from Red Bull and Hamilton does that shit, it's the same shit. Like Red Bull will be like, what the fuck was that? You cannot allow that thing to, you cannot bend the rules for this thing.
You cannot do it. And then you have like no, sorry.
So we can go and talk a little bit just as to like the stupid reasoning that they give for bending the rules. I don't know if anybody's even gonna watch this shit, because it's just you and me talking, and we're gonna post it. But just in case, just so people, if anybody watches it, so that they don't think that we're fucking stupid here. But these are the rules. In the articles of Formula One, it says that any cars that were lapped and while the safety car is out, any cars can unlap themselves, and then the lap after that happens, the safety car will come into the fucking pits.
Yeah.
So if that's what should have happened, any cars should have gone past. In this case, it was 8 of them.
Yep.
And then one lap after, the safety car comes in. But if that happens, the race would have ended under the safety car, right? Because the safety car comes in, and then when it hits green lights, Hamilton is first on the racing, on the end line. So they didn't do that. What the FIA says in regards to that is that it says any cars can unlap themselves. It doesn't say all cars.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, that's some fucking bullshit. It's like, okay, we all know that it says any cars, but there hasn't been a precedent in all of Formula One history that you only let some cars pass and not other cars. No, that hasn't happened. And why does it have to happen at the very last race of the fucking season on the very last lap?
The one time
that in Formula One history that it happens.
Like the one time that like any bullshit shouldn't happen is on that. Every single person that like was talking before the race, they were saying like, you know what, we don't want the FIA intervention on the last race. Like we're just that's what we're hoping for.
And then you can also fucking maybe try to defend the FIA. It's like, oh, but the teams, they agreed before the race. I don't know if you know that, but the team agreed that they were gonna try as best as possible to end the race under green flag conditions. I know that you're gonna try to do that, but don't fucking bend the rules.
Don't destroy the race. Don't like give
it to the other. Because I know that the teams before that agreed on that, but just if it doesn't happen, it's like we tried, but it didn't fucking happen. Don't bend the rules to make, because you're trying to satisfy like all the teams, and I'm like, bro, you're fucking doing the shit and bending the rules. So that's the first thing. There's no precedent in all of Formula One that like only some cars will go through and not. Even if the rules is any cars, and your argument is like all cars, it's like, okay, so are we gonna start fucking doing that every year from now on? Like, is that like a defense? Like, so now next year's only one car, we're gonna only let one car. And the thing is just so fucking frustrating. It's like, set the precedent.
Yeah.
Don't change the fucking rules. But it's in the rules like that because the guys have to defend themselves. So that's the rule number one. The second rule, after that rule, the one that I mentioned, that like any cars can unlap themselves and then they lap after the safety car will come in, Well, the next rule in the articles that they're using to defend themselves is that once the race director announces safety car in this lap, the safety car has to come in that lap, right? So when he let the 5 cars pass, then he announced safety car in this lap. Therefore, he cannot retract that decision anymore, even though it breaks
his own rule. Yeah.
But what they're saying is like, oh, this rule, like,
but you made
overrides the other rule, and I'm like, so
but it's a gray area. No, nobody's telling him that like he should pause his decision to fucking take the racing car out of the pits again. That's absolutely not what's happening. Everybody, it's like, why are you putting it back in to begin with? Like that's like, why are you making that call? That in itself is a breakage of the rules.
Yeah, on the rule that we just mentioned. I know that they're using that as a defense, and then everybody's like, oh, there's that gray area.
It's nonsense.
But they shouldn't be a fucking gray area if there's 70 years of fucking Formula One, and this has never fucking happened on any other season. In any other season, and then in the one time that it happens is in the fucking time that they're gonna give the championship to Max Verstappen. It's like, and it doesn't have to be if it's Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton. If it's a rule, suppose, and they gave the fucking championship to Lewis Hamilton, it's like, why are you fucking bending the rules?
Right.
I didn't sign up here. I know that a lot of people that watch Formula One are not American, but I didn't sign up here to watch WWE, WrestleMania, and watch a fucking show fabricated for entertainment. I came here to watch the best racer drivers in the world compete fairly and square in the rules that we all know, and not for you to fucking make the Michael Massey show at the fucking end of the season. It's just fucking disgraceful from Formula One. Like, we keep saying this shit, but like nobody else is saying it. It's just a clown show.
Yeah.
So there's those 2 rules. The third rule, and this is the other thing that they are defending themselves with, right? So the first one, that, like I said, is like any cars can unlap themselves, and then the lap after, the safety car comes in. But then the rule afterwards, what they're saying is like, if the race director says safety car in this lap, he cannot take that back. The safety car has to come in that lap, which breaks the rule before. There's then they cannot be what do you say? A plot hole? How do you say it? Like a
loophole?
A loophole like that in the regulations.
Yeah.
Because now this is a precedent. It's like, what if it happens in the future? It's like, are we gonna dismiss it? It's like, oh, it's the championship and we cannot take it back because it's the world championship. Oh, but what if it happens in the future? What are you gonna do about it? Yeah. Because the situation then can raise up again in the future, and like we all assume like, oh, it's that one time and it's never gonna happen. No, now the precedent has been set. This can fucking happen in Formula One. If it happens in the world championship on the very last lap of the race, it can happen in any other fucking race now. And none of the drivers say anything about it. Why aren't they fucking coming up? It's like, oh, so this now can happen on every fucking race that there's a safety car. We're just gonna break the rules. It's like, and nobody is saying anything.
Where's the outrage? Like, it's disgusting.
And then Mercedes are outraged at this, trying to fight it, and people are like, oh, they're sore losers.
They're like sore losers,
and they don't accept. And then I'm like, bro, like all of the teams, this is now a precedent for it. It's not about the world championship. It's like, it's about the fucking sport.
Yeah,
I'm watching a sport, and now this means that the next race that I watch, this could happen. And because there's a fucking loophole in the regulations, like you cannot allow this shit to happen. And then the biggest other loophole is like next in Article 15 point whatever. It says that the race director can do whatever the fuck he wants,
which is unbelievable.
It's okay, like tell me what is the fucking limit of that rule? Okay, lap 1, it starts the race. Race director calls in the safety car, but there's no accident. He can just do that. That's in the rules. Of one single guy can like lap 1 safety car, and now safety car in this lap. It's like, okay. Oh, also the like number 1 needs to switch places with number 2. Like, what is the limit of the power of the race director? I know that we're all going. It's like, oh, that's never gonna happen because it's not like. Within like the spirit of the rules, and I'm like, I know that it's not within the spirit of the rules, but in the rules says that this could fucking happen,
right?
So how do you prevent this shit? Because this is millions of dollars on the fucking line.
It's millions of dollars. It's like prestige. It's a status. It's history. It's like this is like a sporting history, which I myself think is very important. I think
in culture, just like we need. This is what humans live for.
Some of the most epic moments. I mean, this is as close as you get to like heroes like Hercules and shit. On modern day, like this is what we want.
These are not like stories that we came up with in like a book. This is not Harry Potter or anything like, or literature that is fiction stories. This is real life, real human beings, and it's more important that like this legacy is fucking preserved.
Right, and that like if we agree to like a set of rules, if everybody's playing the sport, how the sport should be played, that we stick to those rules.
And there should be an outreach by all the teams and all the fucking drivers and say like there is rules. The rules need to be fucking fixed. Just fucking fix them. This cannot fucking happen because it can happen now in every fucking race.
And admit it. Like I know that it's not gonna change. That Verstappen won the championship. I hate to think about it, and I'm gonna keep saying until my grave that he couldn't close that fucking gap. He couldn't fucking.
And and unfortunately, in my eyes, Max Verstappen is not the fucking world champion. I'm sorry. He needs to win another one without the rules being bent in order for me to feel like, okay, he got it.
I don't care. You know what? I'll be like, I will take it. I'll say like I there's nothing I can do to change this. This is just the way that life is in sports sometimes. I'll take it. I'll take the punch. But
change the rules.
But there should be outrage. There should be teams like saying like something. The rules should change. It should be solidified, and then they should like posthumously give something to Hamilton and say like, I'm sorry we fucked up. We're gonna give you this.
They cannot admit that they fuck up, by the way.
Or they can. Yeah, they will never do it. But like, or you could say like, I think the best solution that I could think of is like give them both the championship. Say like they both won it, and I think that would be like a happy medium.
Oh, obviously that will never happen.
But that's never gonna happen.
The sport is a fucking clown show. If it's directed the way that it's currently being directed, you cannot give that much power to a single fucking individual in Formula One for any reason. Biases exist, whether they are conscious or subconscious. And my feeling and my gut feeling, it's that the unconscious or conscious bias of Michael Masi is like, I need to put on a show in Formula One, so it's the epitome, and this is what Formula One should be all about. And that at the very last lap, there's a title showdown. It's like, bro, that was not the case for 70 years of fucking Formula One. All the stories happened how they needed to happen. Well, given I didn't watch Formula One in the 70s or 80s, and I know corruption at that point was probably more likely than what it is in modern day. But in modern day Formula One, you cannot give power to a fucking clown like Michael Masi.
Yeah. You know what they say, like absolute power corrupts absolutely, or something like that. and I think the thing is that it should come down to an individual. Like the rules should be established, and like
the rules should be established. Somebody needs to fucking study up on these rules, and when a situation gets presented, they put the rules into action.
Right, and
that's how it should be. It shouldn't be as to like, I can do whatever I want in the race, therefore
let's see what's more exciting in
this race. And that's it's a fucking awful and dangerous present for Formula One that nobody is talking about. We're all saying like, it happened in the championship, let's see if this gets solved. And I don't know because if the media or anybody that is into Formula One is gonna be like, we're probably gonna get shunned by the entire Formula One community. It's like, bro, somebody needs to fucking say.
Somebody needs to say it. I mean, it's the reason why we decided to make the video. It's because
we are fucking nobody. If
we're nobody, but
we're just fucking fans.
I felt so wrong. Yeah, I felt so wrong as a fan that like I felt like I had to say something. I had to like express my feelings about it. It feels like an absolute betrayal of the sport. It feels like they like an injustice towards Hamilton. It feels like I can't even be happy for Verstappen because I don't think like his win was legitimate.
And also because Verstappen also doesn't think that there was anything wrong.
And that's the other thing. Yeah, he's just like, oh, I won. Miracles can happen, and then like he just celebrates as if like nothing wrong was happened. Whereas if this had happened to him, like there's no way that like we like
he would think that Lewis won by a miracle. Are you
right,
kidding me? It
right.
was robbed from you if
It
that
was
would have happened.
robbed. They stole it, and I don't know, and that's that. I think that's all I wanted to say about it. I honestly, it's just, I
It's
mean,
that the outcome and the conclusion is like, I've been depressed
yeah,
all of today, bro. Nobody has even talked to me. My partner, my family, they're all
uh,
like trying to talk to me, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't want to do anything. I love this sport. I am so invested, and I want to see the best shit happen. And
yeah,
it's just a fucking clown show to watch now. And what am I supposed to do? This is a big part of my life. This is like the core
yeah.
personality of
It
like part of me
it
of who I am.
it's
When
the
people talk and they know me, it's like this is who he is.
yeah,
This is a part of who they are. And like it's being fucking destroyed by the way
right,
that the current Formula One is at the moment, by the
yeah,
fucking rules, by robbing a guy that did nothing wrong on that single race and giving the race to another driver.
yeah. It's the only sport that we watch, and like I don't know, it really feels like yeah, like it was an injustice. Like we witnessed an injustice, and it's really hard to shake off the feeling. But I think at the end of the day, I don't know. You just gotta put it aside.
We put this video out. If anything happens, we did our part. Like I know that
Yeah,
sometimes injustices happen all over the world,
it's a
and like
cathartic exercise.
people kind of like it's like there's nothing I can do about it. No, just fucking let it out. Even if nobody's, it's like it's just for yourself. You
Yeah,
need something, an outlet for all of this emotion, and it just needs to go somewhere so you can
you move on,
move
move
on.
on.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just need all of that energy, like
Oh, I mean,
fucking
like
leave your body and then be able to move on.
there was so much wrong in those last few minutes. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I'm gonna just remember for the rest of my life. How bad it felt afterwards of
Yeah,
like how
and it's
like
not easy to explain. Like I try to explain Aaron is like what happened because Aaron didn't watch the race, and I'm like, it's not an easy thing to explain. I
yeah,
cannot just tell you, oh, on the last lap they broke the rules, so Verstappen won the race. You have to. There's so much context behind it, and people that are new to Formula One, they may not even know.
yeah.
They may think like, oh wow, he
But
passed him on the last lap.
this just happens. Yeah,
It just happened. It just happened, and I'm like, bro, it's a fucking clown show. It was
it's a it's
fabricated
it's a
and manipulated
disgrace.
for this. It's just a disgrace for the sport. And
A disgrace. It's disgusting. It's unfair. It's it's all of those things. But yeah, I mean, we move on. Because otherwise,
you have like,
otherwise,
I don't know if I do in this podcast or this video, but you do sometimes. You have that Montoya accent. Yeah,
oh
but
yeah.
it's racing.
No, because if you let it get to you, then they win. Is the way I see it. I'm not like, yeah, like this bugs me, but tomorrow, I'm just gonna go chill, watch a movie, and like whatever. But like, and it's sports. It doesn't change your life necessarily. But like these are important things in history, and more than anything, on a personal level, I just really feel bad for Hamilton because
Yes,
he is
bro.
the greatest
I
driver of all time, and he should have had that eighth championship, which would have just sealed it for sure.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
you could have said like, oh, maybe he should have had it on his first season of Formula One, when
yeah,
like he beached the car
yeah, he did. He
and
could have had it
all of
then.
these things, and he's like, oh, that would have been his say. Like, oh, this could have been said. It's like, bro, like the reason like I think he's above Michael Schumacher is that Michael Schumacher. I don't know if you know, but Michael Schumacher in his contract with Ferrari was like, I'm number one driver, and the second driver cannot compete against me. He's like, okay, Lewis Hamilton has never won a championship with that clause on his contracts.
No,
Like
no,
his teammates are always allowed to race him for the championship, and Lewis always wins. Well, maybe not against Nico, in
Right.
2016.
I think that was the only time that he actually, I think, lost it. But I mean,
obviously Nico was a little bit luckier that season, but still,
yeah. But
Lewis didn't win it.
There were other times that Hamilton could have gotten it too. When like he bitched it on China, or when like
or when it was robbed from him in Abu Dhabi.
Or yeah, or I was gonna say the Kimi when Kimi won.
Yeah, like that was the same. That was the same year.
Those were years where we could have achieved it, but like.
Oh yeah, but I also in that race, like in the Kimi one, I think in that race he needed to finish 6 or higher, 6 or higher, and I think for 2 laps or so, he lost gears. Yeah, and he lost a lot of track position, and then he needed to finish 6th, and he only finished 7th.
Oh damn, dude! It's always one spot away. Like, always something like that.
So, but these are real fucking stories.
These are legend. It's like legendary little tales that you get to tell. And this one.
This one is gonna be like, oh, remember when Max Verstappen won the last lap? And I'm like, oh, you mean when the FIA manipulated the result?
When they took it away from him, like, yeah,
it cannot be that.
It's so sad.
It cannot be that we have a brand new world champion in Formula One history, and the biggest news all over the place is that it was robbed from Hamilton,
right?
And that the FIA needs to change rules. If that's the biggest fucking news out there, there's something definitely wrong happened.
And it's so sad because this was going to be like, I mean, you could go rewatch this season on video, and like it was such an exciting season. Like every race was so good. I mean, there were some that were a little bit more boring than others, but
even the tension
was always there. Tension was always there and high, and like I don't know if I could bring myself to rewatch this season.
I can't. Because the ending, so painful. The ending is so fucking bad. Like I know that there are times that like when it comes to luck, you can't help but feel bad for the guy. For example, when Max Verstappen crashed in Baku, I feel bad for Max Verstappen. Yeah. I'm like, he should have won that race, and now Hamilton is gonna get 18 points ahead in the championship, and then it looked when like in 2 seconds, I'm like, he's gonna get 25 because he just overtook Perez, and then Hamilton also locked up and went up, and he made a mistake. And then at that point, and I'm like, okay, I kind of feel a little bit better because that race was taken away from Verstappen just by sheer luck. And I'm like, okay, we're even on points.
Yeah.
But this one wasn't a case of luck for one driver or the other. Is that it was taken from one driver by a third party that had nothing to do with the race.
Yeah, they really they did him wrong, and I think fundamentally, I think they know it. I mean, they have to know it. This is their fucking jobs. This is what they do. I mean, this is you gotta. I mean, so many of these Formula One personalities, they just understand. Like they just have to understand that like what happened was wrong, but they won't come out and say it. And that's I think that is the frustrating part.
Yeah, I know that George Russell became a hero for saying what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And people may say like, oh, it's because he's going to be a Mercedes driver and stuff. And I'm like, bro, it still takes some balls to stand to the FIA and be like, bro, this is an absolute disgrace. What just happened? Also, George Russell is like the director of like the GP Drivers Association.
Oh, okay.
So like, if you take away the fact that he's a Mercedes driver and then you just objectively look at him as the guy that directs like
races and stuff,
the races, like if that guy is saying that this is disgusting and just absolutely outrageous that they just happened to another driver, you should be paying more attention to that. And any biases that you have is like, oh, it's because he's a Mercedes, just try to take that bias away just for a second,
and then
because this is a driver in your sport talking against you. And if you just dismiss it, like,
and I think any objective fan that just watches, doesn't have really a fandom for Hamilton or Verstappen, can easily tell you that was wrong. That like it was fucked up, and that they did Hamilton wrong. All right. I have to start wrapping up because my laptop is under 10%.
Okay. I think that's it. I think we said it, everything.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'll post this. I'll try to edit some cool stuff, maybe some images, maybe.
Yeah,
Or try to link it.
I think it'll be
part
good.
in YouTube. You can put the timestamp so we know like every single.
Or you could like break it up into like 2 videos or something. I mean, that would be good too.
That would be good. I don't know how long this shit is, but
it's been like an hour and a half, maybe like 2 hours.
It needed to be this fucking long. Like somebody needs to fucking tune in and like listen to this tea. This is some good tea.
Honestly, I have so much anger, and I could talk about it for days. I don't think I've ever screamed as loudly watching any other sport as I did when they did that to Hamilton. I was outrageous. I so outraged.
It's like there's nothing that you can put into words when that shit happens. It's like Toto Wolff is like just screaming, no. It's like
what do you say? It's
you have no time to react. It's just fucking disgraceful. That's what Formula One is today.
Yeah,
and it sucks. Anyway, I'll let you go now. I'll post it. Let you know when this shit is up.
All right.
Hopefully as soon as possible, because there's some juicy shit here. Oh, I lost your audio.
Oh shit.
Oh no, I got you now. Okay. I got you now. Anyway, I'll let you go. Peace, everybody. Maybe we'll be now Formula One famous now in the community. Peace.